Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And today we are starting something new on the channel. Today, this is going to be our weekly WWE podcast known as Casually Hardcore.
I'm the casual.
And I'm the Hardcore. And today we are going to be reviewing NXT TAKEOVer Brooklyn 3. So,
I've got my notes in front of me on my laptop.
I got my notes here on my trusty dusty sheet of paper. Trusty dusty sheet of paper.
Identify as a trusty dust.
So match one is Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas. And the first note I have on here is, goddamn, did I miss Mauro Ranallo. I just got the WWE Network, which is why we're starting this. So the $9.99, go WWE Network.
Get us up WWE.
Sponsored, not sponsored.
The first thing I have written is Andrade had the lead for a split second, and Gargano quickly flipped the script on him and took the lead. And then after that, he kept the lead for maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It wasn't so long. And
yeah, it was. Let's talk about the beginning, because the beginning was super fast paced, super technical.
It was a little hard to follow.
And I don't blame you. There's a reason you're the casual here.
Yeah, I'm just getting back into it after a couple of years of not really following it, but I've always kind of kept in touch. Yeah, you could say.
So I mean, it was really good. It mirrors a lot of the indie wrestling that I've seen in the past. You know, your like your Jay Lethals, your Will Ospreys, your Travis Banks, you know, etc. You don't know any of these people.
I don't know anything about indie whatsoever. I'll give you an exact percentage of how much I know. This is the percent. This is the percent of what I know. Zero.
Yeah, that's fair. I also, if you guys know that I'm like fucking with my eyes, I'm like, wow, I've got really bad allergies, and I literally just put my contacts in. So
yeah,
rip.
Everything's his fault.
Fuck yourself. Anyways, so yeah, it was just great. There was a rope armbar that was crazy in the beginning. I don't remember exactly who was on the outside. I believe it was Andrade on the outside and Gargano on the inside, and Gargano was trying to do something. I don't know exactly what, but Andrade got a hold of his arm and then hung from the ropes, and it was pretty awesome.
What I remember about the match was most of the match they kept switching the lead. Like, one would have the lead for only a couple seconds at a time, or maybe 30 seconds, and then the other one would just say, "No, this is my match." And the entire, right up until the end, the match was just lead changes and lead changes and lead changes.
Yeah, that's fair. The next thing I have wrote down on my list is sunset flip type sort of thing. I don't remember exactly what it was, and I don't remember the exact scenario. All I remember is that it was glorious, and it looked painful. It looked pretty painful.
Lots of those moves look painful, but it was something else. Probably one of the memorable moments. Not one of the most memorable, but a memorable moment of NXT TakeOver.
Yeah.
What the most memorable thing about this match for me was, I was writing down a note, looked up, and Gargano and Almas clotheslined each other and reset the entire match. And it was, I just looked up to catch it just in time, and it was brutal.
Yeah. So next, the last thing I had, the last few things I had is the Gargano escape, which is a beautiful finisher, a beautiful submission. I just love things that twist people into pretzels, and Almas's arm.
That's a way to say it.
The Almas's arm was so far behind him. Christ, it looked like he was like double jointed or something.
Before that happened, they each made a pin attempt after establishing a phenomenal hit on their opponent. They each made a great pin attempt. I think each of those pins went to 2.5 roughly before the other made the kick out, and then the what is it? What is
Gargano escape?
The Gargano escape. See, I'm the casual. And then I thought this how are you supposed to get out of that? But the escape was a work of art. He escaped the Gargano.
Like literally escaped.
Gorgeous piece of art.
Like rolled over on him to put Gargano on his back, picked him up, and then power bombed him into the turnbuckle. Like that was pretty good. And then the last thing I have is almost his finisher, which I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I'm new. I've been watching other podcasts and like recaps of NXT for a long time, but this is honestly my first time watching like ever. So I forgive me for not knowing the name of his finisher. But yeah, that's it, and it's a beautiful finisher. Just I love how he puts their arm behind their back and then DDTs them.
So lots of and just overall in this NXT takeover, there was lots of people focusing on the arms of their opponents in lots of the matches.
Yeah. So to tell you the result, in case you don't know yourself, Almas ended up picking up the victory after
the escape.
After the escape, definitely. But his manager, she threw a old DIY T-shirt at Gargano, distracting him, and then Almas comes through, kicks him, and then sets up the finisher. 1, 2, 3, game over.
Simple, gorgeous ending. The distraction, classic distraction. It was just a classic distraction.
Go ahead. I'll be right back.
Okay. Overall, I gave the match I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It was a good match overall. Wasn't spectacular. There was lots of. I think it was a great match. It just wasn't a great match. If you get what I'm getting at, the lead switches really kept me on my toes. I don't know about Caleb because he's more into this. He knows kind of what to expect in matches. But for me, being more casual, the lead switches kept me on my toes. I had no idea what was happening the whole time. So when the match finally ended, I didn't see it coming. At any moment the match could have ended, and I would have been like, "Oh, okay." So 3.5 out of 5. It was definitely a great match, not a great match.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna have to give it 3 stars. It's from some of the matches I've seen in the past, especially in indie wrestling. It's a good match. Not much more than that, but yeah, it was a good match. I can't really give it much more credit than that. So
yeah, he would give it a better rating than I would, seeing as I'm now getting more back into it. Match 2 was for the NXT Tag Team Championships. It was Sanity versus Authors of Pain. In this match, the official tag team that Sanity was running was Eric Young and Alexander Wolf. Not that Nikki Cross and Killian Dane didn't do their part, because
we'll get into that later when we get there. But yeah, basically the way this match started off is, Sanity enters, does their whole like crap,
and then crazy stuff,
and then Authors of Pain come in wearing a really dope mask, which reminds me of I don't know. It's reminiscent of like what you would expect from like G.I. Joe, Cobra Commando, like his army. If anyone knows that, probably not. That's probably too much of an obscure reference, but hey.
Is that all you're filled with is obscure references?
Probably.
That's fair.
But yeah, it looked great. I love their masks. They came out basically before the match didn't even get to start. Until like 2-3 minutes after Authors of Pain got to ringside.
And the reason it started so late after they got there was because each team went nuts, and they started fighting, and all hell broke loose before the match could even start. It was hectic. It was hard to follow, and the match started out of no. They fought for a couple of minutes. It really was just hell. And then suddenly there were two people in the ring. The match had started. I was just looking at it. There were two people in the ring out of nowhere, and I was hearing dings.
Yeah. So basically, I think it was Icam. Icam had thrown Alexander Wolf into the ring, which started the match. Some things happened. They ended up fighting, and Wolf ended up going to tag. Killian Dane was ringside, but Eric Young popped up onto the ropes and was like, "Nah, I got this. Go away, Killian. It's all part of my plan." So, poor Big Damo got screwed. So, it's unfortunate. But
even after the match had started, when the match had officially started, it was still difficult to follow, and it was still extremely hectic because both teams were still leaving and going, leaving the ring, going back into the ring, getting every member involved that they legally could. It was just hell. It was, even the match had started. Most of the match was absolute hell. It was insane.
Yeah. The next thing I have on a note, just as a general, it's good, hard hitting tag team wrestling. I mean, Eric Young isn't a quote unquote big guy, but I haven't ever seen Akam or Rezar, to sell things incredibly well, and they sold Eric Young's offense pretty well. So it's a good all around, hard hitting tag team wrestling. Two massive forces of dominance, colliding, as you would say.
For Caleb, I think Caleb had an easier time following and seeing what was happening. For me, I was struggling to keep up with the match as it was going. Like with the Gargano versus Almas match, I was kept on my toes. I didn't know when the match would end or when someone would take a lead. But in this match, it was right up until the end, I had no idea what was happening. So most of these notes are Caleb's. It's just going to be me saying what happened.
And that's fair. But I don't really have too much notes for this match, as you said. Really back and forth. Just chaos all around. I mean, you would expect that with a team like Sanity. Let's be frank. But what? What's so funny?
Just you.
I guess it's fair. So, and then the match basically ended with Akam and Rezar. Eric Young was on the top rope and was going to do an elbow dropper or something on Akam and Rezar. And one of the members of Authors of Pain walked up, basically took his legs out from underneath him. He falls down, hits his junk on the area on the turnbuckle. Yeah, and then the other one.
He climbed to the middle or the top.
He climbed to the middle of the top, the middle of the turnbuckle, and was going to superplex Eric Young.
Yeah.
The other member of the Authors of Pain came up and was
trying to help,
go for a power bomb. And Nikki Cross, as they were getting ready to release, Nikki Cross came up, held Eric Young, and then Eric Young pushed the guy that was trying to superplex him off, and one member of Authors of Pain ended up powerbombing his other member of Authors of Pain.
One twin ended up powerbombing the other twin, and we all know that when one member of the team accidentally ends up hitting the other member of the team, that's pretty much the signal for, hey, guess what's about to happen. At that point, that's when I finally caught up to what was about to happen. I figured this is the end of the match. We're probably getting there.
Yeah. So Eric Young jumps off the top rope. It's, I think, an elbow drop or a leg drop or something. 1, 2, the one member of Authors of Pain pulls him out of the ring. Then Eric Young, they both go over to the close side of the camera, and Eric Young flies out, takes one out. Then Alexander Wolf flies out, takes the other one out. Nikki Cross and Paul Ellering get into the ring, and then Nikki Cross goes to the ref is talking to Paul Ellering, and she climbs up on the turnbuckle and flies from the top, trying to crossbody one of them, but he catches them. Killian Dane is like, "Oh crap!" And then
Killian Dane makes the phenomenal, just the expert decision, just truly, just 10 out of 10 for Killian here. So one of the members of Authors of Pain is holding Nikki Cross, and Killian's like, "Fuck," and just bolts.
And as he turns around,
and this is a good point to mention that before the match started, one of the members of Sanity, I think it was Nikki Cross, pulled out a table and set it up, leaning against the.
It was Eric Young.
Oh, was it? I thought it was Nikki.
No, it was Eric Young.
And leaned it against the.
Leaned it up against the barricade.
Yeah, the barricade.
And he turns around. And just Big Pima, with all the speed in the world that his big ass body can muster,
decision.
Just bam, plows right into Nikki Cross and Akam or Rezar, whichever one, I forget. They literally look like the same person. Like, can you fault me for that?
Any one of us is going to be able to tell them apart at 7. If he can't, I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I normally have a really hard time with twins. Like, we graduated with twins, and I still, to this day, have a hard time telling them apart.
You can't tell them apart?
Sometimes I can.
That's not the point. I can tell them apart. Caleb's weak.
I guess it's fair. And so, yeah, just plows him right through the table. The funny thing is, they take the camera, Killian Dane, like, rolls away, and then he's, like, on his chest, and he, like, kicks the ground because he's in pain, like a little girl, and it was the funniest shit ever. I'm literally there just chuckling to myself.
10 out of 10 Killian Dane, please promote.
But yeah, basically cuts back, and then cuts back to Eric Young and the one member, and then I forget what happens. I think some tag team move from the top rope. I forget what it was exactly. Sorry, I can't tell you guys what that was. But I forget. Sorry. But yeah, tag team move. Sanity picks up the wins. They're their new NXT Tag Team Champions. But
that's not the end of the story.
But then, let me talk about the Hardcore. I know these guys. He doesn't. They debuted recently in singles competition. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly end up basically taking out everyone, saying, "Hey, we're here. We're gonna be tag team champs.
Yeah,
Watch
it
us."
was a solid 3 minutes of just destruction.
Yeah, they basically picked up the scraps and were vultures.
It was. They just came out guns blazing, and then after they had put their 2 cents into it, you could see in one of the pans that Nikki Cross was still on the ground, which is hilarious to me. I was like, Jesus, she's dead. She could be in the hospital. For all I knew at that moment, I was like, if she hasn't gotten up yet, she's dead. It's been like 5 minutes. She's just been dead on the ground. So
I mean, to be fair, she
got squashed.
She got squashed between a large man, another large man, and then there was a table as well.
It was like a Nikki Cross burger.
Yep, that's basically what it was.
A Nikki Cross burger. Oh my god.
A sandwich. But yeah, I'd have to. I don't know. I'm not normally that huge on tag team matches, so this match is probably realistically a 3.5, but I've never been huge on tag team matches or tag team wrestling in general. So yeah, I'm gonna have to rate this a 3.
I gave it a 4 out of 5. Just in case you can tell, we're doing an out of 5 scale. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I was pleased with the match. I am more partial to tag team matches. overall, just because more action, more people, that kind of thing. Uh, but it wasn't like the perfect match or anything. But it was a good match. It was a really good match. Do you want to introduce
Yeah,
the next match?
so match 3
Well, I
is
think
a match that I was looking forward to, and I love the first thing I'm gonna say is I love both of these competitors, but
I thought
specifically
you were
the
gonna
first
mention
man, the first man that I'm gonna introduce. Match 3 of the night is Hideo Itami and Aleister Black. Um, like I said, Aleister Black, or Tommy End as he used to be known, is a great performer. But I've just been the hugest fan of Hideo Itami for the longest time. So yeah,
Before we start our notes on the match, I think Caleb over here loved the intro for Aleister Black. I thought it was cool. I was a little displeased with certain parts of it. The angles, I think it was funny because the angles at some parts, I thought Aleister Black was gonna walk up and start fighting with the members of the band. Uh, that's just a minor detail.
that would be pretty funny. But why would he do that? They made his theme.
I don't. It just at the angle they put it at the worst angle because it looked exactly like he was like, I'm about to take them out.
That's fair.
Like, I don't know who made that decision. This is a good thing.
Something we forgot to mention is match 2, Corey Graves was a guest announcer, and match 3, I was very happy about this. Good old JR, Jim Ross.
Jim Ross.
My God, it's a slobberknocker.
I love Jim Ross.
Jim Ross.
No, Jim Ross.
That's all you need to know.
Smile and say Jim Ross. That's it. It was phenomenal. If you don't love Jim Ross, you're wrong. That's simple. Good old JR. I should stop calling him Jim Ross.
Good old JR.
Good old Jimmy Ross.
So yeah, the first thing I have in this match as a highlight was there was some sort of knee drop with that Hitami pulled on Black, and I don't remember exactly how it worked, but I remember sitting there and you and I just going, "Holy crap!" Just Christ.
The first note that I made about the match was that early on, Aleister Black sustained some sort of minor nose injury or whatever that caused him to be bleeding for the rest of the match. Later in the match, I don't think he's marked this on his notes, so I'm going to say it now. But later in the match, almost the entire half of, I think it was the right side of his face.
Yeah.
The right, just like right here, just all blood from his nose. It was crazy, just the amount of blood. Not something that I was used to seeing back when I was more into WWE. And then just like, okay, here's match 3 that we're watching, Xavier. Blood everywhere.
Blood everywhere. But yeah, it was great. I think my most favorite part of this match was there was an instance where Tommy had taken a pretty commanding lead, and then Aleister Black's thing is, whenever you leave the ring, he'll sit in the center of the ring and just fold his hands like this, like, all right, I'll wait.
So cocky.
And then Tommy did something, and then he sat down and he was like, he had his arms crossed, and he was just imitating him, and it was beautiful.
He knocked Aleister Black onto his stomach, and then it was just like, oh, look at me. I'm so handsome and better than you. Like, I think, okay, I'm going to spoil the match result now, because I want to explain right now why Tommy lost. There you go. Match result. Aleister Black won. He deserved the win because Hideo Itami fought valiantly, but his issue was he kept wasting time and most of the way through the match. I didn't mark this in my notes, but he kept through the match getting the small lead and then wasting his lead to give a little taunt. Like he would, instead of hitting Aleister Black with a phenomenal move or something, he would just go boop. He would just give him a small slap to the face, and he wasted his lead multiple times and wasted time over the entire match. And I think overall that allowed Aleister Black to win. I think, because I think you said that Aleister Black is undefeated.
Yes.
I think that result could have changed if Itami would not have been cocky like the way he was.
We also keep in mind that he probably isn't scheduled to lose for a long time, so it wouldn't have mattered whether I mean, it works for storyline wise because that still makes Itami look strong, even though he was, because he basically dominated pretty much the entire match, but his own foolishness and.
But it's like the classic thing you expect. Whoever takes the early lead tends to lose momentum in the end game and doesn't pick up the win for themselves.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because they're kind of burying Itami, and I know that he's definitely a wrestler to hold that title for a very long time. But I feel like at this point they're just biding time for him to get called up after Mania. They're not really. I don't think he's gonna get a title. I think they're gonna wait till Mania. They're gonna call him up, and he'll be either on 205 Live, which will make my heart very, very sad. Or, well, nothing against 205 Live, but I think given the right booking and the right push, he could easily challenge Finn Balor for Universal title. Because eventually, sometime next year, actually next year, that title is going back on Balor. If not the World Heavyweight Championship, because he might get traded over to SmackDown Live.
I think the match result could have changed if Itami just would have only done that one tease, that one taunt, just the one boop, haha, kind of thing. The highlight of the match for me was Aleister Black. He gets on. So Itami's like kind of in the middle of the ring-ish, a little closer to the side that Black's on, and Black gets on the middle rope. I'm sorry, I don't know the names of moves, but he backflips off of the rope, and his boots just go crashing into Hideo Itami, and it was stunning. I don't think that's how the match ended.
No, it's not.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how the match ended, but it was absolutely stunning. It was a stunning hit, and I think that's where Aleister Black finally started to take the lead before the end of the match. It was a good lengthy match. It's just Hideo did waste all that time.
Yeah. I mean, it's still really good. I mean, what do you expect from two strikers? Like, I mean, hard hitting. Like, you get the kicks, slaps, chops, echo across the entire arena.
I remember that was like the third hit of the match was pop. Like it was like the third or fourth hit of the match, and there was just a pull. Yeah, it was. But it was a loud hit. But that was the memorable moment for me. Was that backflip off of the middle rope into Hideo Itami. It was a stunning hit.
Yeah, and then basically Itami was starting to gain momentum back, and then just like that, Black Mask gone, lights out, goodbye. Makes me sad. I like Aleister Black, and I want Aleister Black to be champion, but Hideo Itami has been mired by injuries. And by now, if he would not be injured, he would probably have been at least one time NXT champion and would probably be on Main fighting for maybe the Miz's Intercontinental Championship. Maybe, I don't know, probably-ish. Possibly.
I don't know.
I mean, I know you don't know, but...
How do you look at me acting like, yeah, sure. I'll agree. You're the smart one.
But,
I'm the smart one.
Fuck yourself.
He's a smart one for WWE. Everywhere else, I'm the smart one.
Fuck. Anyways.
I win.
So yeah, good match. I rated this match 4 stars. Pretty good. I could go a little higher, but there's a match that I believe is a 4.5 later on in the card. So yeah, I just kind of kept this at 4 because I was expecting big things from our next match. So that's why.
I rated this match 4.5 out of 5. I was pleasantly surprised with how good the match was. Like, not being this. Yeah, this wasn't a title match, was it?
No.
Yeah, not being a title match, I thought, okay, this is going to be this is probably going to be more like the first match. It's just going to kind of be there. I was pleasantly surprised with the effort that was put into it and everything by both competitors, and it ended up being a phenomenal match. So I give it a 4.5 out of 5. It was a good match. It was a really good match. I recommend that anyone who has the chance to only watch one match, you could start with that one.
Yeah, you could start with that one.
Mhm.
So bring us into
the fourth match, the second to last match of the night, was for the NXT Women's Championship. I can English. And it was Asuka versus Ember Moon. And I just want to start this off by saying the entire intro while people were walking in and they were talking before the match, like the announcers, is that what we call them? Announcers?
Yeah, announcers.
Yeah, the commentators, the announcers. Since I'm new, I knew who Asuka was. I've seen Asuka before, talking with Caleb before, but this was the first time I had heard of Ember Moon, so he kind of had to explain to me kind of Ember Moon style and whatnot. And the main thing that I picked up from what he said, which I totally agree with, is that she's wonderfully packaged, but she's being put out there wrong.
Yeah,
or promoted, I think is what he said.
She should have something that kind of mirrors. In my opinion, she should have something that mirrors, or kind of combines that of Aleister Black and Finn Balor.
I think looking at her,
very few words, but every word is impactful and whoa, spoopy. Because like the whole thing that she is, or you could think that she would be, just from her packaging, is like a werewolf or like a vampire or something like that. I know they've already done vampires, but
well, with the moon, it would be more werewolf.
Yeah, it would be more werewolf.
I kept making the comment about how she was kind of cringy. Like, I think she was overdone, and it was kind of hard to watch her. I kept mentioning how she was a little too edgy.
For what they're going for with her,
she's nicely packaged.
She's nicely packaged, but what they're making, the kind of promos and the kind of like wrestling that they're kind of wanting her to do, does not help. It just totally clashes with her packaging, just completely. Like there's nothing, like it makes no sense.
We can get into the match now. I just wanted to start off by saying
no, you're fine.
So you can. Yeah, I'll let you.
So all I have to say, I don't remember exactly what happened, but the opening sequence was like crazy good.
It was a good. Yeah, it was a really good opener.
I don't remember. It was basically like Gargano and Almas earlier in the day. It was really back and forth. Really fast-paced, really technical, but Ember Moon had the lead early, and then Asuka ended up taking the lead back and immediately started focusing on that bad left shoulder.
I remember Asuka having the lead most of the match. Caleb thinks that she only had the lead for a little bit, and
she had like the lead like a third of the match. I think
I think he could be right, but we're having connection issues watching it, and so we had to keep starting over from the point we left off, and so there were so many breaks in the match. So from what I remember, Asuka had the lead most of the match. It could very well be that she only had the lead for about a third of the match. But my first note on the match was that Asuka was relentless, absolutely relentless on the left arm of Ember Moon, especially with the submission holds. She was going crazy, but as soon as she put in a submission hold, she was going 10 times harder on that left arm. She's a psycho. She's a crazy woman.
And then right after that opening sequence, there was a Asuka suplex Ember Moon on the ramp, and
that was the German suplex.
That looked painful. It wasn't a German suplex.
Oh, I thought they said it was a German suplex.
No, it was a fisherman's carry suplex.
Well, it was a gorgeous suplex, and Ember Moon landed right before the turnbuckle. Like if his shoulder is the turnbuckle, her head went boom and landed barely right before it. Like a little bit more of a throw, and her back would have easily been in that turnbuckle. So it was a gorgeous suplex from Asuka.
And I know you have a lot more notes on this, so I'll let you take the lead until we get to the the things.
Ember Moon took the lead. She had a small comeback for a moment before she lost momentum again to Asuka because Ember Moon tried to take that lead and she was doing well. And then Asuka was like, "Hey, don't forget, I know about your left arm," and she was right back on the left arm. This match was mostly for Asuka was focusing on basically removing the left arm of Ember Moon. And then out of nowhere, Ember Moon hit Asuka out of nowhere with a great hit. I don't remember what they were. I'm sorry that I didn't mark those. And then try to pin Asuka. Asuka kicked out, and then I think Ember Moon hit her finisher. I don't know what it's called. I don't remember what it is.
That's a little bit later, but something I do want to mention is that Asuka ended up pinning the arm of Ember Moon, her left arm behind her, and then power bombed her on her bad arm. Like,
with her
how?
arm
Like,
holy.
Like behind and everything. Like,
But Ember
ow.
Moon
But yeah, Ember Moon ended up hitting the Eclipse. Finally on Asuka.
That was a little. Even after she hit the Eclipse, obviously Asuka kicked out. Asuka's not the
Asuka's like a fucking monster.
And then after that point, the match still went on for a little bit. But
before we get to that, I want to mention that there was a ref spot. Once again, Asuka uses the ref to kind of try and use a little bit of shady tactics because. Even though it doesn't matter in the end of the match, she the only person she's taken any sort of shortcuts with is Ember Moon. So she put the ref in between her and Ember Moon after she kicked out of the Eclipse.
And at this point, Ember Moon was on the top turnbuckle.
Yeah, and so the ref got out of the way. Ember Moon comes flying, lands down.
Ember Moon jumped, and the ref bolted it.
And then Asuka reverses that into a pin attempt, grabs the tights. Luckily, the ref sees and calls her out on it.
But Ember Moon had got 2 hits and 2 pins onto Asuka. Asuka barely made it out. And then after the point that he was just making, Asuka reinvigorated her assault on the left arm of Ember Moon. She made it even more vicious. She was holding her arm as far out as she could, like stretching her arm out, and was kicking the side of her head. I know this is my right arm, just pretend it's my left, and was kicking the side of her head, pretty much trying to literally remove her arm. Like, just pull it out of its socket, rip it off. She was not having it.
Rip it off and beat her with it.
She was not having any of this fucking arm. I'm telling she was a savage. I was 2 minutes in, 30 seconds into the match, I was about that Asuka life. I was like, this woman.
But yeah, then Ember Moon comes back, takes the lead until the end of the match, where Ember Moon goes to hit a move, Asuka catches her, brings her to the ground, traps her in the Asuka lock, and Ember Moon, fight as she may, in the center of the ring, you cannot escape that Asuka lock.
She took that Asuka lock for as long as she could. No luck for her though. She took it as long as she could, and she was just banging on the arm of Asuka when she tapped, and Asuka held that thing for a solid 5, 6, 7 more seconds before finally letting go. The one of the notable moments of this match was when Ember Moon hit her finisher, and it didn't, and Asuka kicked out. And then later she hit another, I don't remember what the move was. She hit another move.
Kick.
It was a super kick. She hit a super kick onto Asuka and went for the pin on Asuka again. and Asuka barely made it out. And then
two finishers.
yes, and Ember Moon was like having a tantrum in the middle of the ring because she couldn't do anything about it.
No one has ever kicked out of the Eclipse either.
Asuka, and Asuka's not just another female wrestler. Asuka, after one match, and I'm told that Asuka's undefeated by Caleb, is what I think he said. But after one match, I can tell Asuka is, as far as what I can tell, she's probably one of the best wrestlers, one of the best female wrestlers I've ever seen come into the WWE scene. Ember Moon is probably her best competition, because Caleb said multiple times to me during the match that Asuka's only taken shortcuts to win with Ember Moon. Not that any of the shortcuts ended up affecting the end of the match. Asuka won with a fair and square. She didn't use a cheap tactic to win. She hit up the Asuka lock. She was like, "I got your number." But it was a phenomenal thing to see. I feel privileged to have watched that match, because I don't think I've ever seen a women's fight just like that. It was absolutely stunning. It was a stunning performance by Ember Moon, and I was just in awe of Asuka's performance the entire match.
That's fair. So, as we said, Asuka ends up defending her women's title.
Asuka picks up the win.
And for me, I don't really want to give out 5s, because to me, a 5 is a perfect match. This match was definitely close, but it wasn't quite there for me. So I'm gonna have to give this match a 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Before I tell my rating, I wanted to make one more comment about the match. Was that after the match, Caleb seemed pretty adamant. I'm sure he still is adamant about his position that Asuka escaped with her title. And Ember Moon could have won. She could have. Ember Moon did not make the same mistakes that Hideo Itami made with Aleister Black. Every moment she had, she took advantage when she could. She didn't play around that match. She wanted to get in there and take it. She put up a good fight. Asuka put up a good fight. He thinks that Asuka escaped. I think Asuka showed what she's made of in this. Not that she hasn't done it before. I think she's just reinforcing what she's made of. And even though it was a close match, I don't think she escaped. I think she earned her victory there, even if she took a few shortcuts.
I think had she not targeted that arm solely, I think Ember Moon picks up the victory.
Well, yeah, the targeting the left arm so relentlessly was obviously a big part of the match, because Ember Moon had that left arm injury earlier. I don't know how that was sustained or anything. I'm sure he does. But targeting that was obviously a big thing for the match and the overall. It made it a little harder for Ember Moon. She threw a flimsy punch with her left arm at Asuka, and it was like it was nothing.
It was like her arm was jelly.
I just remember seeing that and was like, why would you even try? Because it was like it was nothing. Ember Moon put up a valiant effort. I think without that left arm, Ember Moon could have easily, or not easily, but could have maybe picked up that victory. But Asuka is a threat. I think without that left arm injury, Asuka still would have found a way to have won the match. And even without that left arm injury, it seems pretty much like Asuka's main form of beating out her opponents is focusing on a limb and just murdering that limb.
But yeah, so last.
Oh, and I gave the match a 5 out of 5. That was the best match I've ever seen. I've taken a break for a couple of years, so maybe it's just a little weird, but that is the best match I can ever remember seeing. It was a phenomenal match. I was in love with the match. Ember Moon put up a valiant effort. Asuka put up a wonderful fight. And to me, that was the perfect match. That was the perfect match for me. It was a 5 out of 5. I know he gave it a 4 out of 5,
4.5.
and or 4.5 out of 5. Rightfully so, because he knows more. He probably knows what a perfect match looks like. But we both agree that that was a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous fight. So sorry for the ramble.
Next and lastly, certainly not least, we have the NXT Championship match between current NXT champion Bobby Roode and his challenger returning. Finally, he has come back. It's not The Rock, but
Oh my God!
it's Drew McIntyre, the chosen one.
Coming back to NXT.
It's a joke. Christ. Drew McIntyre. Yeah, he does. Really, he does. Drew McIntyre. The first thing I have of note of this match is there was a beautiful tilt world backbreaker on the apron. Bobby Roode looks like he was in some pain. Just right on the corner of the apron went his spine, and ouch.
You could definitely see the effects of that later in the match. You could see the effects of whatever the words he just said it was called. You could definitely see those effects towards the mid and late parts of the match. I didn't take a lot of notes on this one. It was at some points a little slowish for me and a little hard to follow at other points. It was kind of a back and forth match for me. So he's going to take most of the hit on this. But I have 2 notes on this one.
I mean, it's not... This match didn't really have anything. It was a good heavyweight match, but heavyweight matches don't typically, aren't typically, like, crazy good anyways. So, there's not really much you can say. Most of the good matches come from women or come from tag teams or come from, the guys that would be considered mid-card. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good match. In your notes, it happened before the next thing on my notes. So,
whose move is that?
That's McIntyre's.
Sorry, casual, hardcore.
You're fair.
McIntyre hit the Future Shock. That's you said that was a DDT?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he hits his Future Shock, and Roode kicks out like onto. I don't even think it was close to being 3. He kicks out like pretty much onto, if I remember correctly, which shocked me. I was shocked by this kick out of the Future Shock. And so I just it goes to show like the power of some of these people, the will of some of these people, being able to withstand someone's most powerful move. They're the move that they put the most effort and power and will into to take you out, and then you just shake it off. And so that really speaks to the will and the testament and the power of some of these people. That it was a gorgeous kick out. McIntyre did a good job with that Future Shock. But Bobby Roode just kicked out like it was nothing.
So the next note that I have that I thought was really cool is that McIntyre ended up getting tied to the Tree of Woe, and Bobby Roode was going to jump down and basically double foot stomp him on the ground, kind of like Alberto Del Rio.
Alberto Del Rio. Don't worry. I promise he's not.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Fuck. But he goes to double stomp him, and Drew McIntyre just pulls himself up, grabs him by the throat, and then just chucks him backwards.
Yeah, just
it might be the head. Like, it was probably here. Probably like the head.
Boom!
Just threw him backwards, and then got up and then elbow dropped him.
I don't know if you have any notes before this point, but
I do.
Okay.
Later in the match, there was an incident where Bobby Roode went outside, and the ref stopped Drew McIntyre from chasing him, which personally makes me upset because that happens like never. Like normally, especially on like Raw and SmackDown, often if someone goes out of the ring, you're allowed to chase them down. Why was the ref holding him back? I mean, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but I know it was to set up something that happened later in the match, but like it just bothers me because he shouldn't have been like, no, stay back. Like,
For me,
let him go.
for me, it was. He's kind of upset about it. For me, it's like, from what I remember, it's not uncommon for a ref for someone to be outside the ring or for someone to be in a corner, and then the opponent will go charging at them or something, and the ref will step in the way, being like, ah. Like I remember seeing that in matches on Raw or SmackDown or something like that. So for me, that's not maybe times have changed or something like that. But for me, I was like, okay, yeah, he just did it. Like it made for me, it was a logical move. Like I've seen things like that happen before, and it's not like it was uncommon. So yeah, that was his opinion. That was my opinion.
Anyways, now, a couple more fighting happens for like 5 minutes, I think, and then we get to the finish, which was, no pun intended, but now that I realized it was a pun before I said it, now pun totally intended, a glorious finish.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Go ahead.
So, Bobby Roode hits a glorious DDT on Drew McIntyre. So he hits the glorious DDT, and this is the point in the match where you pin your opponent.
No, well, he does go to pin him. He goes to pin him, fails the pin, gets upset, and then.
Okay, then what happened after that point? Apparently, I missed one glorious DDT.
No, you didn't.
Bobby,
you didn't. You didn't miss one. So then Bobby Roode goes and picks up McIntyre. Glorious DDTs him again, but instead of pinning him, he goes for another glorious DDT
and hits it.
No, he doesn't hit the second one.
Well, he hits two glorious.
He hits one. No, he hits one, pins, then goes for the pin, and McIntyre, kicks out. Bobby Roode goes, hits another glorious DDT, but instead of pinning McIntyre, he picks him up for another glorious DDT. McIntyre reverses, pushes him away, and when Bobby Roode turns around, he gets Claymore kicked. 1, 2, 3. McIntyre is your new NXT champion, which is great.
He's probably right, but what I remember was Bobby Roode hits the glorious DDT. He goes to hit it again, hits it again. Then he goes to hit it again, and Drew McIntyre's like, nah, you wasted your time. You're about to get owned. Pushes, counters, Claymore kicks, 1, 2, 3, game over.
Yeah, and that's not how it went, but okay.
No, he's probably, as I said, he's probably right. But just a little bit of time has passed. This has been 53-ish minutes.
More than that, probably close to an hour since we finished watching the rest. Because I missed it live last night. But I watched the first 2 matches and then like the opening sequence of Itami Black last night.
And there was,
before I went to bed.
I think neither of us mentioned this. So before we end off on the match 5 and match 4 in the women's championship match, I think it was that match. Asuka suplexed or something Ember Moon on the ramp.
We already mentioned that.
Oh, did you? I didn't remember you mentioning that.
It's okay. So yeah, McIntyre, celebrates. Finally, he has climbed the mountain once again, and he's finally made Bobby Roode not be so entitled. But then, oh boy, out comes Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly again. They're standing at the end, and McIntyre goes over to confront them, and from out behind goes Adam Cole, baby!
A comment that I made about Adam Cole was he looks like a generic brand Shawn Michaels.
Fuck yourself.
You said true, but I still like him.
I mean, he does kind of look like a young Shawn Michaels.
He looks like generic. He looks like generic brand Shawn Michaels.
Anyways, they basically beat the absolute shit out of McIntyre and say, hey, all three of us are here, and we're gonna get titles. So, whoa.
So second time,
great ending.
Two had been out, but first time tonight that Omnicom came out.
Great ending. Great ending.
I'll let you give your rating first.
So for me, as I know you didn't keep this in mind, but as far as heavyweight matches go, they're not gonna like turn your head and be like, whoa, that's fucking crazy. Like, so for me, this was just your standard heavyweight match. So I rated this match a 3-star. I might be generous, but I kept it as a whole, and I looked at it stylistically. And had I not looked at it stylistically and just took it in as a whole, it'd probably be less than a 3-star. But for all of these matches, I put them into perspective with storyline and with the styles that I knew that were gonna be on hand.
And obviously, me being more casual, I don't know much about the storyline of Bobby or Drew or Asuka or Ember or any of the other competitors. So for me, it was just watching the match, taking the match in, and then giving my feedback on how I felt the match went as far as the ratings go. He gave it a 3. I'm sure he's more correct. For me, I was underwhelmed. I wanted to give it a 2.5. I was generous, if you can say that. I gave it 2 3/4 out of 5, which is above 50%. So take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
I was just underwhelmed. I've seen better regular, not special matches. I've seen better just whatever matches on Raw and SmackDown and stuff. But he probably is a 3 or a 3.5-ish. When with all things considered, but for me not being able to have that knowledge of story or anything, it's just a 2 3/4 out of 5. It was just kind of.
And on top of that, I think a big reason that it feels so meh is that this had to follow the best match of the night.
That is true. The NXT Women's Championship was by far the best match of the night, the best match I've ever seen. And it's hard to follow up with something like the performance by Asuka and Ember Moon. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Roode had to follow up with a good match. I mean, they both gave their best effort, but to try to follow that up was pretty much not possible.
Yeah.
So that's why I gave it a 2 3/4.
Anyways, as a whole, what would you rate your entire NXT TakeOver
the entire
Brooklyn
event
experience?
Oh, I didn't know he was gonna ask that.
I mean, I didn't put it down because I figured it was common knowledge.
I was curious if you want. Looking back, this is the first pay-per-view I've ever watched.
The first NXT you've ever watched as well.
That is true. This is the first of NXT I've ever seen, and even the first pay-per-view. I've seen some WrestleMania matches before. I found them on YouTube and watched them. But for the first NXT, I liked all of the matches except for the last match. I would get, for my first pay-per-view, being new to the brand and new to the pay-per-view, I would give this a 4 out of 5. A 4 out of 5, solid.
And I think that speaks volume to the caliber of talent they have there. Because you being a casual, this being your first experience, you not knowing anything, I feel like I don't know, but for me personally, looking at it from the outside in, it seems like they left a pretty good impression on you.
Before every match, I would ask Caleb. Well, give you a rating first. Give you a rating first.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know why you're looking at your papers.
I know. It's difficult for me. There were definitely super highlights, being the Itami and the Asuka Ember Moon match.
Those were by far the best 2 matches of the night.
Yep, and I'm not gonna lie here. I'm really happy that at least the second match of the night was Itami, and you got to see why I love him so much.
The third match.
Yeah.
You said the second.
Or no, I meant to say the second best. My apologies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I'm just so happy that you can understand why I love Itami and why I love Alistair now. Because even though Alistair didn't get that much offense and you were like, wow, they're both kind of cocky bastards. Like
Itami could have had the win had he not been that cocky bastard.
But as far as in-ring performance goes.
I liked everyone's performance. The last match could have been a little better though. Yeah.
But I think overall, I'm gonna rate this a 3.5 out of 5. The only reason I'm saying that is because the first match, the first match and the last match were really, like, you had this good in the middle, and then it was just flanked by just, I wouldn't say bad, but it just lackluster content. It was basically, prologue, epilogue, good shit in the center. Like,
for me, before every match, I asked Caleb like what each fighter was, or each wrestler was. So like, because he had to explain, since it's been so long, he explained like what technical kind of meant, what striker meant. I don't remember the other 3 off the top of my head.
There's technical, striker, brawler / powerhouse.
I mean, I knew what striker was. I just didn't know there was a name for it. I obviously know.
And then there's high flyer and hardcore, which are like the five. There's different subgenres, but the 5 main genres of wrestling styles.
So I had asked him before what each person was like. Are they technical? Like, what was Asuka? He said technical.
Yeah. Anyone who relies on ligaments and submissions is a technical wrestler.
And then I asked also, like, were they a heel? Were they a face? Were they a tweener? What are they? For my first time getting back into it, this was a great learning experience, and I'm so happy to have finally seen my first NXT, and I was so happy with most of the events most of the matches I got to watch today. Most of them were very, very solid matches. I liked them all a lot.
Yeah, like we said, good pay-per-view all around. But so be tuned. Casually Hardcore will return to you tomorrow. Tomorrow before he takes off, whenever he takes off. We will record I'm never leaving. I live here now.
Meld into the wall.
But we will record our analysis and reaction to SummerSlam.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've heard lots of good things about SummerSlams in the past.
Yeah, this one's wonky.
You could ask me at any time, name a WWE pay-per-view, and the only one I could probably name besides WrestleMania is SummerSlam.
And that's fair. It is one of the big 4, so yeah. What better time to start than the first of the big 4 in the WWE calendar, because it doesn't start exactly in January. So yeah, be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you guys tomorrow sometime. Yeah, bye.